I'm Selena, and I'm your host for right now. And I'm going to invite you to change your name. I'm going to give you some directions on how to do that in just a second. But what I want you to do is change your name to reflect, add to your name. Keep your name, but add a word to describe how you're feeling right now. So this is, I put the wrong thing up, I apologize. So go into your name and you'll have those directions, but add a word to describe how you feel. Welcome everybody. We're gonna get started in just a few minutes, but in the meantime, go ahead and change your name to add a word to describe how you're feeling today. There are a couple ways to get that done. You can go to the participants tab, or there's 3 dots that you can tap on your name if you're calling from a computer. All right, you can dance or sing with the music too. We've got some music to welcome you in. So come on in and change your name. We're gonna get started in just a couple minutes.
Good morning.
Good morning, good morning. You can scroll through on the right side if you're on your computer and just see who else is here. You can even do some private messaging if you want to say hi to somebody on the side. So the rename option, Todd, do you have 3 dots when you scroll over to your picture?
I do, and usually that's where rename is, but it's not there this time for some reason. I don't know why.
On the dots?
It's not. I have. I'll tell you. I have edit profile picture, hide self view, pin, stop video, and mute my audio, but no rename for some reason.
That's.
But I'm glad to be here. I'll just tell you. There you go.
Hey, there you go.
And I use he, him pronouns. There you go. I usually put that beside my name as well.
Awesome. Okay, that's good to know. Found that out early.
YouTube or a Zoom account, then Peter Krebs might need to change the settings to allow people to do that. I don't know.
Are folks not able to rename themselves if they're not?
I can't rename.
I can't either.
I just changed the settings so you can. Try it again, Todd.
Woohoo! Jason to the rescue.
Thanks for letting us know. This is the kind of feedback and co-creation we need. So thank you.
Why are we trying to rename ourselves? I think I joined too late.
You're gonna add, I'm gonna put it in the chat again and welcome. We are going to rename ourselves by adding a word that describes how you feel today. So you should have that access with the 3 dots. I'm gonna get started in just a minute or so.
And then you go to chat after the 3 dots.
You tap on the 3 dots and you should have the option of changing your name.
Should be updated now.
But,
No.
but first you have to actually click on.
You have to click on the dots.
Oh.
Or
Yeah, I'm on an iPad. Would that matter?
This is Julie. So my iPad, if I click on the 3 dots and then click on participants, and then that will list a list of participants. If you click on yourself, then it will give you an option to rename.
Yep. It's a couple ways to do it.
thank you for identifying.
Got it.
So awesome to to see everybody. It's amazing. I was hoping to say, I see you, Julie. I see you, Rex. I see you, Peter. But there's just so many. So great, man.
Welcome, welcome. Peter, I know we're expecting a few more people. So I'm gonna get started at 10:05.
Okay, sounds great.
Right.
I'm going to temporarily stop sharing screen so we can see even more faces, and we'll bring it back later.
Yes, yes, good morning, good morning. And welcome, welcome. If you are able and willing, go ahead and turn your camera on so we can smile back at you. I know some people are probably still getting themselves together for the day. That's fine too. But good morning and welcome, welcome. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. We got some other people who are gonna be rolling in. If you didn't see the prompt for you today is to add a word to describe how you feel today to your name. So, and I just dropped some instructions that work on computers. iPads and phones might have a different configuration, but basically you'll find your name under the participants and you will add a word to your name describing how you feel this morning. All right, I see a lot of excited to participate, curious, alive, expectant, following. I love it, I love it. Let's see. Feeling excited, awesome, awesome. Great, go ahead and drop those things. I see more people coming and I'm going to just drop it one more time what the directions are to add it, something to describe how you feel to your name today. And good morning, I will introduce myself now. My name is Selena Kozar and I am serving as your host for today's summit. And so welcome, I'm so glad you signed up. We had over 70 people sign up for this summit. And so we're really excited. Some people will be joining us in the morning. Some people will be picking us up in the afternoon, but all in all, we're gonna just have a great time together. So you all know that this is the Charlottesville-Albemarle Active Mobility Summit. And our goal today is to come up with some ideas on how we can work together and get some great things happening in the community to continue the work that you're already doing. So you all were invited because you're leaders in the community around these issues, whether you hold an office or whether you're the person they turn to get stuff done. We're glad you're here this morning. So basically how we're going to spend our time together, I'll go into more detail later about the process, but we're going to have 2 sessions today. You had the opportunity to either submit a possible topic or to sign up in advance for topics. So we will have those topics divided across 2 different meeting times, and I will explain how that process will work. Your opportunity today when you were changing your name, that will be part of how we get that work done a little bit later as well. So stay tuned for that. That is where I'm going to hand it over to Peter. He has some opening remarks that he'd like to share. And so Peter, the floor is yours. Also excited, I see.
Thanks, Selena. And I wasn't just saying that because it's the right thing to say. I truly am so excited to be here. This is a big deal for us as a group. It's hoping to be the first of an annual tradition and a regular process of getting together. And I'm super, super grateful to you, Selena, for being here and for lifting up our work. I'd also like to be sure to thank the Charlottesville Area Community Foundation and PC's donors for underwriting this event. And most of all, I'd like to thank you for taking time in your busy schedule, giving some of your Friday to be here with us. My name is Peter Krebs, and I work for the Piedmont Environmental Council. Since 1972, PC has promoted compact, livable communities surrounded by farms, forests, and open spaces where natural systems thrive. We are gathered today to make progress toward a healthier and better connected Charlottesville and Albemarle County. I'm happy to see so many familiar faces. I'm also glad to see so many people I haven't already met. I welcome you all and hope you all meet new people and are inspired by them as I am. I will provide a brief introduction as to why we are here, and then I will turn it back to Selena, who will help us get to work. Let's get started with a short 3-minute video about creating a more interconnected community right here in Charlottesville and Albemarle. Give me a second while I share the screen.
Charlottesville and Albemarle have many great outdoor spaces for walking and biking, but they're not connected, and in fact, too often you have to drive a car to get there. At the Piedmont Environmental Council, we envision a comprehensive network of trails, bike lanes, sidewalks, and shared use paths that are useful connections to help people get to shopping, jobs, education, recreation, and everyday access to nature.
One of the things I really love about this region is how beautiful it is and the various ways that we can experience the outdoors. Many people really benefit from the healing aspects of being outside. And when it comes to even just the daily things as far as like, how do I get to the grocery store? How do I get to work? How do I get to school? So it's important that we have diverse ways of allowing people to connect to the places where they call home.
PC is working with communities here in Charlottesville and Albemarle County to help them use their voice to advocate for a better place to live. People who live in well-connected communities are more prosperous, and their children actually have better prospects later in life. So as we're working to fight climate change, and as we're getting in front of chronic diseases, we're also building a community that's better for the people who live there and help them reach their potential.
Not everyone moves around the same way, and I think it's very important moving forward that we think about that and think about the fact that, especially for folks whose voices may not have been heard previously, what is the best way for you to get access to the things you need and be able to move around and connect?
Safe walking and biking infrastructure is necessary if Charlottesville and Albemarle are going to be an affordable place to live. It's about providing options for people and families and communities about how they would like to get around and how they would like to live their lives.
So that video does a great job of talking about the why. Next, I'll take a few minutes to talk about how we are working together. I added a few slides just for color, so don't read too much into them, but I think they're fine. Oops, sorry, not that one again.
Charlottesville and Albemarle have many great outdoor spaces for walking and biking, but they're not.
All right, how about that one? Sorry about that. So back in 2017, PC and the Planning District Commission applied for and received a Strengthening Systems grant from the Charlottesville Area Community Foundation. The purpose of the grant was to envision and implement a network of bicycle and pedestrian connections that unite the city, university, and urban neighborhoods of Albemarle County, connecting residents with jobs, resources, and opportunities. It envisions a system that provides both useful transportation and everyday access to nature and fresh air. We needed a plan, and we needed strong community buy-in. We reached an important milestone in 2019 with the completion and adoption of the Jefferson Area Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan. I'll post a link to that in the chat. The second part of our work is focused on ensuring that this planning results in implementation and actual positive change. That work is at least as important, if not more so. It's ongoing, and it's why we are here today. We identified early on that physical barriers that riddle our community are the reflection of disconnected civil society underneath. There have always been many groups doing good work to get people outdoors, and many of you are here now, but there's no single entity that can bring about the change we seek on its own. And for long-standing structural reasons, it has not always been easy to do this work together either. If we are to succeed at the larger difference-making projects, there must be strong coordinated mobilization. The Strengthening Systems Grant and now other sources of support have allowed PEC and others to act as gravitational influences that we hope will coalesce and create that social energy and buy-in that we need. The process of working together is also the process of coming together, and that's taken many forms. Of course, there have been many meetings, but there have also been parties and work sessions, walks, bike rides, community gatherings, presentations, screenings, a reading group, even a hip hop charrette. So here are some of those fun pictures I promised. Whoops. There's also been a quarterly convening of groups that is coalesced into the Piedmont Mobility Alliance. This is a coalition of organizations, groups, businesses, and agencies dedicated to promoting walking and biking and other forms of active living and access to outdoors. If you and your organization are not already part of the Alliance, I invite you to join. Again, there'll be information about that in the chat. The actual frontline work, though, is coming from you and others who may not be here right now. We are most successful when we work across organizations and combine resources. I've drafted a few of you to give examples of work that they are doing, that you are doing, that has been successful through structured collaboration. These only scratch the surface, but these three examples certainly inspire me. First, Rex will tell a story about land acquisition. Rex? For the first time ever, Rex is at a loss for words. Perhaps he stepped away. Okay, let's go to our next story and maybe come back to Rex.
I don't see him in the participant list. I mean, he might have bumped off.
He's here.
Yeah.
He's here, but somehow we can't hear. We can't hear him.
All right, he's ignoring us. Let's go to our next one. Jessica, let's hear about putting together a fractured data set.
Sure. So hi, everyone. My name is Jessica. I work as a transportation planner at the Thomas Jefferson Planning District Commission. The Jefferson Area Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan was done before I took on my role there. So I can talk about how great it is. And one of the great things that the plan does was identify some actions that the PDC and others can take to improve collaboration in bicycle and pedestrian planning among the localities. So one of the actions that they identified was the creation of a comprehensive map called the One Map that would bring together the bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure data for the city of Charlottesville, Albemarle County, and UVA. And the purpose of such a comprehensive map, there's a lot of reasons. One, that will allow staff to see gaps in the network and plan for the future. It will allow the public to see what infrastructure exists, what can they go out and use today. And for both staff and public alike to have a comprehensive map to refer to put potential projects into the context of the wider network. So far, this has been a really technical process of determining common ways of identifying and describing bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure across localities and using GIS to combine all that information. There have been some challenges as technical staff at the PDC and elsewhere have come and gone, but those challenges have forced us to think outside the box to achieve our goals. And I think ultimately, these challenges have become opportunities for us to come up with a better product than we ever imagined. Thanks, Peter.
Jessica. Yeah, I love that project. Let's go back to Rex and hear about land acquisition.
I don't know. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Oh, wait, hey, I'm here. Thank you, Peter. So Peter asked me to talk really briefly about some work that we've been doing really with a whole bunch of partners out at the end of Reservoir Road, adjacent to Ragged Mountain Reservoir, Ragged Mountain Natural Area. It's really two property acquisitions. One was completed in 2019, which was 143 acres. And the other one is a 5-acre acquisition that literally should be closing weeks ago, and hopefully within the week. So my take home on these two projects is, it takes a village, and these things don't happen by accident. So the it takes a village part is, this was really a collaboration, sort of getting these two projects done with Piedmont Environmental Council, the city of Charlottesville, a bunch of local partners like the Ravenna Trail Foundation, Cambic, Track Club, all these groups that sort of have put resources and energy and money into helping build trails, private foundations like Bama Works locally, private individuals who donated some money, federal funding through a community forestry program, state funding through the Virginia Outdoors Foundation. So a whole bunch of partners that needed to come together to make these two acquisitions happen. That's the village part, and the it doesn't happen by accident part is, this really started when Chris Ginsick from the city contacted me. I mean, it must have been over 5 years ago that one of these properties was on the market, and he and I started working with the realtor and the landowner and potential conservation buyers, trying to figure out a way to protect it, and eventually we got there. So it was really through sort of long-range relationship building between myself and Chris, between ourselves and their realtors, between myself and Chris and the landowners, that ultimately made these things happen. So a lot of hard work on the front end is that, none of these things happen by accident. So there's a lot of things and steps that happen in the background to make these things reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Rex. And I don't know if he was clear about this, but none of them could have had any success if it weren't for all of the others who were involved. So that's awesome, and years of persistence. Okay, let's next hear another good story from Kyle about transforming a container full of metal into a fleet of bicycles for all the children of Charlottesville public schools.
Can everybody hear me?
Perfectly.
Oh, perfect.
Well
yeah,
enough.
that's a good picture. That's a good picture, Peter. So Peter asked me to talk about the bike repair party, as we call it. So this event, it started because when I came into the Safe Routes to School position, the schools had some bikes in their possession, but they were all mostly in disrepair, and there were quite a few of them, and we had to fix them kind of fast. So we partnered up with Cambic, and we towed 2 trailers of bikes to Champion Brewery, and we fixed them all in about an hour. And so since then, we've added almost 200 bikes. So we have almost 200 bikes in the bike fleets. All of the schools in the city have bikes at the schools except for CHS, and Jackson, Via, and Clark. Those are just for some reasons, spatial reasons and things like that. But we still continue this today. So we have almost 200 bikes, and they need a lot of maintenance. You can imagine that these bikes kind of get beat up. Out in, kind of during the regular school year, I'm kind of out in the field repairing these bikes kind of at will. But once a year, usually in February, we tow all of the trailers over to one place, and a ton of Cambic volunteers come out, and they bring their own tools, they bring their own repair stands, safe routes to school, supplies the parts and things like that. And traditionally, this is it's hilarious, but it's also a really good testament to how awesome and robust and willing our community is to help. We typically tune up all 200 bikes in about 90 minutes to 2 hours. And so usually there are volunteers rolling in even after we're done with tools in hand saying, hey, what can I do? And we just say, you can't do anything. You can just hang out and talk and chat and be with your friends. So this event has been great. Not only has it been a great maintenance program for the school bike fleet, but it's been a really great social program for the bike community. And some people like Peter have trickled in, who came from the advocacy running side of things, and now Peter kind of rides bikes with some of these people, and he's just one example of that. So this is a lot of different people from different backgrounds coming together with one purpose, but then meeting each other and kind of branching out a little bit. And it's been a great program.
Thank you, Kyle. I think you touched on something that was super important about this element of people meeting each other and the work itself being social, and the two building off of each other. And I think that's a great reflection of the entirety of our project, right? As I said in the beginning, that it's our success and failure is driven in large part by how much and how well we're actually working together. So by handing people really just a beer, it's all it takes to get all those folks out there doing that good work. So thank you for those three good stories. So today's gathering is another step in this process of methodically coming together around shared goals and making a decision to go forward with them. We invite you to discuss some new ideas and also topics that are ongoing where collaboration would really make a difference. We hope to come out of these conversations with some increased understanding and also commitments to make actual progress, even if the scope is modest. We will come back together next year and have some check-ins in between. With that, I'll return you to Selena's good hands to help get this new chapter started.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you for those examples of what an idea and some energy from people can really produce. So this is what we're up to today, to come up with some ideas to develop them. And we're going to use a process called open space technology. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to take that enthusiasm that you may have for an idea. We're going to gather some people around it, and you all are going to flesh out things that can happen. And as Peter said, the scope is not the most important thing today. The idea is that you come up with something and you decide how you want to proceed with it, and you get some great minds thinking with you. So the first thing to understand about open space is that you're gonna choose where you want to go. And we're gonna present the topics. You all are actually gonna get a chance to pitch them. So some people have already pre-submitted topics, But if you have an idea that comes to you today or that you're bringing with you today, you'll have an opportunity to pitch that in just a couple of minutes. And the pitches are simple. It's just your passion and your hope for this time that we get to spend together. So you'll get about 30 minutes to spend in your group, and you will have the chance to talk with other people to flesh out that idea. So, and Peter, you can bring that slide back up again, because the first part of this idea of open source is that whoever comes are the right people. So who's here today, you are the right people. Whoever comes to the session that is offered, you're the right people. So you don't have to wait for somebody else to come. The people who need to be there will be there just by virtue of being there. The other principle to consider and to really hold dear is that whatever happens is the only thing that could have happened. So instead of wishing for more or less or other, take what is and really get excited about the fact that here we are doing this thing. Let's go. Whenever it starts is the right time. So that is for the session today, and it's also for the work that you're going to propose, that you're going to come up with together. So when it starts, that's the right time. And when it's over, it's over. You know, nothing lasts forever, as we know, and our time together is going to be limited today. And then also the time to get things done outside of this will have its own boundaries. And the last part about this session, the way we're going to work together, is this notion of the law of mobility, which is also known as the law of 2 feet. So what that means is that if you, as you take responsibility for your experience today, you're going to think about what you need and what's going to be really of interest to you today. So you are totally within your experience and your desire for today to be able to enter into a meeting and then decide, I want to switch. Or it may be a lot of different reasons. It might be that you want to be part of 2 conversations. So it's your responsibility to get your needs met today. And part of that will be you choosing a group and following through with that group, or deciding that you want to go to another group. Those are within your power to choose. And the 2 kinds of people, or we'll call them animals for now, that are available, you know, for you to be in these conversations is one, a bumblebee. You could be a bumblebee where you cross-pollinate ideas. You may see a linkage between 2 topics and say, well, I want to go and hear a little bit here and add a little flavor here. And then I might go over to the other group and bring some of what I heard to this other group to see if that could be useful there. So, and then, you know, they're the butterflies. You know, they're the people that hang out and have other conversations. So in this virtual space, we don't necessarily have a hangout room necessarily, but you may be an aggregator of ideas. And so you may be quiet in the session, but you may be gathering it together to bring impact somewhere else. So don't discount that role as well as a listener. But, you know, we're gathering together to hear and to flesh out ideas. So if anybody has any questions about that, please drop them in the chat and we'll try to address those. So that's kind of like the mindset around this. The logistics of it will come as we go to actually do the breakout. But what I want to do is invite those who have already offered ideas to prepare to raise your hand virtually, to be called on to do your pitch. Your pitch is short. It could be as short as 30 seconds, no longer than a minute. So what you're trying to do is share the idea and the enthusiasm around it, and possibly the hope for what you want to come out of it. If you don't know that, that's fine too. Okay, so I'm going to look at the participant list. If you know how to raise your hand by looking at the participant list, and you can raise your hand on your screen, or you can use some kind of reaction emoji just to bring attention. Okay, so I see Michael. I don't want to pronounce your last name wrong, but I see your hand up. So why don't you go ahead and
Mike.
pitch?
Okay, my name is Michael Geiser. I'm pitching off-road neighborhood connections. I think there's a need for people to be able to get around and not on the main roads for paths and bikes, and especially in the county. I live in the North County, up 29 near Lowe's. So there's a lot. I think my walk score in this neighborhood is about 6. So, and more people will be comfortable off the roads, especially my wife. So there we go. I think I'm in group 7. So join me. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mike.
We're going to share back the group numbers, so you don't have to remember that, just the vague ideas that people are pitching, and we'll help you get to the right group when the time comes.
Absolutely, thanks. Thanks, so I see Jason and then Jean.
Yeah, hey, I'll go quickly. Good morning, everyone. I'm in group 2, and my idea is also Peter Olms's idea, so we're going to sort of do this together and merge them, was to talking about taking a tactical urbanism approach to demonstrating complete streets. There's a number of methods that can be done. I know that we've done some of this in the past in the area. And a couple of years back at Tom Fest, there was a 2nd Street in Garrett. They painted the intersection there. I know we've done some street painting in Belmont and things like that. I just like to think about how we can continue to do that around town, just to bring, and there's different ways to do it. It could be more involved or it could be cheaper and quick. So let's talk about it.
Thank you, Jason. So Jean, you're up next, and Todd, you'll be following her.
Hi, I would like to promote the discovery and then the promotion of lower stress routes, so we can help the cyclists that are already out there, casual cyclists on the roads that we already have. There are a lot of streets, back streets that are much easier to ride on compared to the roads that people are used to driving on. And I think that would help the people out there right now. That's my pitch.
Thanks, Jean. So Todd is up next, and then there'll be Max, Lauren, and Kyle.
Good morning, everyone. I am interested in talking with people who have an interest in discussing how we develop a more inclusive and diverse leadership around our outdoor spaces. And I'm come by this by way of being on the previously being on the RTF board for many years, probably about 10 years, and thinking, gosh, we could have a more representative group of leaders deciding how our trails get built, where they get built, and what's a priority in our community with regard to mobility and recreation and connectivity. So that's my interest, and happy to talk with anybody else who would be interested in that.
Great, thank you, Todd. And Lauren?
Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me. My internet's kind of funky this morning. I am pitching Planning Bike Month for Charlottesville this month, in 2 months, so that we can, everybody knows there's been a big bike boom. So hoping to plan activities and ways to support people as new bikers and supporting businesses and local nonprofits and groups that are promoting mobility.
Great, thank you, Lauren. And Kyle.
Oh, sorry.
Can everybody hear me?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Good.
I meant Max. I think Max was next. I'm sorry. I skipped.
No, I'm sorry.
sorry,
I
go ahead,
lowered
Max.
my hand too early. I thought it looks funny with the Mickey Mouse hand in the screen for while I talk, but I didn't want to ruin the moderation concept. Sorry. So yeah, I'm just gonna say this real quick. So this is listed as group 3 group bike rides, but I think it's kind of a mischaracterization. It sounds, it still captures the essence. So it's about riding on bicycles or scooters or rollerblades or anything that rolls, so including wheelchairs and whatever you have. And it's actually, to be honest, more a form of a protest or a visibility action. So it's not so much about discovering the neighborhood, but more about creating visibility. My motivation is that usually as bicyclists or any other rolling participant, this is not inclusive in that way because it's probably too fast for pedestrians to participate, but it's about not being alone on the road and showing also the scale of the community and letting cars really experience more people not in cars on the road. I've seen this in a lot of places. I don't know what the best technical term is to describe this. It's definitely peaceful, non-violent. It's very positive. You can have it at night. Sorry, you can have it at night, then you should have a lot of very flashy lights. It can be during the daytime. Of course, you need to permit this and it has to be a little bit organized, and it can start very small and then grow so it's scalable. And anybody interested in that can join me. I'm very interested in some of the other ideas too. So I like the butterflying or bumblebeeing concept of the event. So see you later, maybe. Sorry.
Thank you, Max. And Kyle, thank you.
Hi, everybody. Hi again, I should say. So I'm pitching an idea that's been kind of kicked around for a little while and between a few organizations. I'm pitching the idea of neighborhood or community bike repair days. And this would be a program that would be a collaboration between organizations. It wouldn't be a standalone situation, but basically people would come together to probably build out a trailer or some kind of mobile bike repair situation that would be brought to different neighborhoods or schools that would be identified as, you know, kind of the schedule, and a group of volunteers would go into a neighborhood and kind of open their arms and say, bring us all of your bikes, all of your children's bikes that are in disrepair, and then fix those bikes. And also give away free helmets, which is kind of through the Safe Routes to School program. So we kind of envision this to be a collaboration between Safe Routes to School and community bikes, but there's so much potential. You know, there's organizations like Books on Bikes, which is kind of like they're an organization of elementary school and middle school librarians who go around with cargo bikes, kind of like a bookmobile, and they have their schedule. So if we could kind of get together with them, that would be great. But you know, we're thinking, you know, maybe we can have some other things going on at these events, like little obstacle courses or bike, you know, skills lessons or something like that. So kind of, we're just kind of hoping to gather some ideas and talk about it. And we don't really have you know, an inked template of what this looks like. It's just kind of an idea, but also, you know, kind of hoping to work through any unintended consequences that might not have been thought of, or, you know, people who maybe should be contacted or talked to about this, or, you know, so any input that's on the hardware side of this, or even the planning side of this, would be really much appreciated. So I don't know what number group this is. So if you have any interest, then I will see you in the group.
Great, thanks, Kyle. I'm going to call on Chris next, but while I'm calling on Chris, this is your opportunity. If you have an idea that has not been mentioned already, that you just want to see what you can collaborate on, you know, this will be your time to offer that too. So I'm going to open the floor up for anybody who wants to pitch an idea after Chris goes. So Chris, do you want to share your idea?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. The topic I wanted to discuss and my hopes and dreams for this entire alliance would be to bring more people out to join the people on this Zoom call and in all the meetings we have a lot, to get more people at public meetings, more people in front of businesses, more people out there saying we want more of these things. We're all bike riders and trail people, and, you know, like kind of trail geeks in a certain sense, but particularly with COVID, I've seen so many people out there across the spectrum of society.
I think we lost you, Chris. Are you still speaking? Okay, I'm not sure what happened to Chris.
I dropped out there. Am I still on?
Welcome back. Yeah, we can hear you now.
Sorry, I'm gonna turn my video off. That might be why. Basically, get more people and more, you know, average citizens to get in front of councils and boards and businesses and things and say, how do we speed up the dream of a connected community, whether it's sidewalks, bike lanes, trails, whatever. COVID got me seeing a lot of people out there that I've never seen in these kinds of meetings or at council meetings. How do we mobilize that constituency to accomplish our dream?
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Chris. So who's game? Who has an idea that they want to pitch? Now you have 30 to 60 seconds to do it. Just raise your hand and I'll call on you. If you have the raise your hand feature. If you don't have that feature, you can go ahead and drop it in the chat and then I'll call on you. All right, I see Jay Hyman. Go ahead, Jay. And Julie, I see you dropped something in the chat. I'll call on you next.
Hi, I'm Jay Heitman. I'm a member of the Families for Safe Streets organization nationally. As you might be aware, my daughter, Robin, was killed bicycling in New York City back on June 24th of 2019. My younger daughter is a cyclist here in Charlottesville, and Rachel has been hit 3 times in the last 3 years by cars. The one time was 2.5 weeks after her sister was killed. So part of what I'm doing is working towards a national commitment to Vision Zero, and certainly that should include the local government as well.
Thank you, Jay. And Julie, we'd like to hear from you as well. So please share your idea.
My name is Julie Roller, and I'm the trails manager at the Saunders Monticello Trail. And I'm really interested in discussing our capacity on our trails and the stewardship of those spaces and how to really get stewardship involved with volunteers in our community and get everyone interested in maintaining those spaces that we have and keeping them clean. So that's a larger discussion, I think, than just how to care for trails and what their capacities are. But one of those 2 subjects would be of interest to me.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Look, there's some stuff going on in the chat. Let's see. Okay, Diantha, is your hand up? Is that, are you?
Yes.
Wanting to
thank you, Selena. I'm very interested, and I joined this group this morning because I've been struggling for several years now as to how to impact the urban ring area, to looking at bicycle and pedestrian safety and accessibility through an equity lens, and how to bring a focus to getting our folks that have been ignored to some degree, not necessarily by you all, but I'm just simply saying that from the viewpoint of the county city spending money. We spend lots of money on infrastructure in the new areas, not any at all in our old urban ring areas. And I'm really trying to figure out how to get a focus on infrastructure, bike, pedestrian. We do have some starts on that, but it really needs to be expanded. We need connectivity for everyone. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Diantha. And John, I see you dropped something in the chat. Would you like to pitch that to the group?
Hi, everyone. It doesn't need a breakout room per se, but we have major routes that bisect our communities and in some cases isolate them unless you have a car, 29, 64 and the bypass. And I'm just interested in where we can work with the VDOT to leverage existing culverts and such that we can promote off-road access for bike ped connectivity between communities. And secondly, I know that there's some stuff, thanks to Diantha, pushing along and opportunities across 29. So it's just continuing that effort to really highlight the bike ped friendly intersections. And so I think there's overlap across all of these areas. We're talking about safe routes, off-road activity, et cetera. So I think it's really important that we somehow figure out how to cross these separation zones in a safe manner to allow us and our communities to interconnect without having to drive or risk themselves on these busy intersections and choke points. Thanks.
Absolutely. And you just modeled for us what a bumblebee can do. You have an idea that can fit a couple different places. And so if you are one of those people, you'll have that opportunity as we go into our breakout sessions. So we have, I don't know if Peter, if you can drop the link to the Google Doc where people can sign up and maybe put it on the screen as well. But we've captured all of these ideas and placed people into groups. And thank you, Jason, for your comment to John about where that might connect. So in the Google Doc, we have placed each one of these ideas into a group, and you will have the opportunity to sign up. Just remembering that you'll have an opportunity. If you find that you want to go into another group, we can pop you out and put you into another one, no problem. But what you'll do to help us is you will go to the Google document and you will put your name under the group you want to be in. The second thing that we'd like you to do is put that number in your name. And just as you added your, yeah, Peter, if you could drop the link into the chat, that would be great.
Yeah, I'll drop it in a second. I'm not quite ready to do that yet.
Okay.
I'm working on that sheet.
Okay, awesome.
For now, sorry for the little bit of confusion that we have here. Is we're so excited that there are so many groups. This is actually more groups than we had planned for. So I'm changing Google Docs and stuff around in real time. So thank you for being patient with that. So there are going to be two ways to sign up. One is going to be by simply renaming yourself with the group number. And the other is by putting your name on this sheet. And so I'm building each of those right now. And yeah, so I'll go ahead and share that, share the screen.
Okay. That's awesome. The other thing I'll say is keep your name, like your actual name that you're going by, along with your number too, just so we can keep track of where we're putting people and make sure that what you want is what's so while we're waiting for that to drop, does anybody have any questions so far about how we're going to proceed after the break? So we're going to take a brief break in a couple of minutes, And in that time, we'll assign you to groups. And when we come back from the break, that'll be when we put you into the groups for the discussion. Does anybody have questions? I'm going to just scroll through and see if I see anybody who's.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, John, is your group a group, or are you just going to butterfly for now?
I'm sorry, who?
I'll butterfly. I think yeah, my ask is really just a connectivity. We have a couple groups that's connectivity related. So I'll try and butterfly, but I think I'm on the table also for the advocacy. So I'll flap around.
Perfect.
Buzz around.
Thank you. Hold on. I'm about to post that group list now. And also we had one other sort of housekeeping request, which is that we're going to want a group picture before the before we go and break. So Marco, are you on the call? Are you available?
I saw Marco earlier.
He might have had to go take care of, put out some kind of fire. Marco? Okay, so we'll get to the photo later. For now, I'm going to put up the group numbers, and the first step is going to be to rename yourself so the group number appears in your name, right? So if I were to be in the Bike Month group, I would be 1-Peter Krebs, right? Does that make sense to everybody? And then here are the instructions reminding you how to rename yourself. Hey everyone, welcome back. Not everyone's back yet.
When everybody gets back, we're going to do a quick debrief of what happened in the breakout groups.
We had a lot of people in group number 4, and we made it through the introductions at least, and there had begun some discussions, but we hadn't gotten to, but people were entering information on the sheet, so.
Okay. Okay.
We had a feeling that would happen. That's a popular topic, and actually a one that's always part of our work. That's a conversation that'll continue.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're gonna, hopefully you all have chosen a spokesperson, and if you haven't, I'm gonna choose whoever was your scribe, if you had a scribe. If you didn't, go ahead and pick somebody, because I'm gonna go in the order of the numbers of the group. And what I'd like you to share briefly, this is gonna be a lightning round. So I want you to share either something that you learned or what your next step will be after this conversation, or if there's a particular story you want to tell about the content. So you're going to either tell us what you're going to, like what a next step will be, something you learned, or a story that you want to tell about that convening. So we'll start with group number 1. Who wants to be bold and step out and tell us about group 1?
I can tell about group 1. So we were having a preliminary brainstorming session about what Bike Month for Charlottesville should look like this year, taking COVID into account. So our next step is we're going to form a small group that we're going to keep meeting a couple times, 2 or 3 times before Bike Month, to hash out all of the ideas that we've come up with and come up with funding and all of the little details that we need. So if anybody wants to be part of that, you can send me an email or anybody in that group.
Right, that's awesome.
That's all.
Thank you, Lauren. And the other thing I'll add too is if you all intend to reconvene after lunch, like if that group is going to continue, then let us know that. Okay. So do you think you guys will continue, Lauren?
I don't know. Amanda, what do you think?
If there's interest, I'd be glad to run it for the afternoon. Yeah, that's no problem.
Okay, we'll add that to the pitch list.
Yeah, and folks can reflect over lunchtime too.
Yeah, you don't have to make a decision now. It's just if you have an inkling, please share.
Okay.
The sandwich might change your mind.
Sounds good. Sounds good. That's the law of 2 feet working as already. So group 2. Who's your person?
We didn't really designate a person, but I'm going to call on my group. I'll try to give a brief summary of what we talked about with tactical urbanism. And we started quickly with a brainstorm of what, first of all, what that is, why it's important, things that can be done visibly. There's a role for demonstrating that streets can be more than just for cars. And there have been a history of some of these events have taken place in this area. But we want to continue to do them maybe at the Bike Month or maybe at the TomTom when we start to meet again. So those are temporary sort of events that occur on a day or so that can be, we can go into the detail of what those are. Then there's the more systemic permanent change that needs to happen. It can happen at different intersections. Bike boxes can be put in, or I think there was some talk about reestablishing the bike lane separation on Belmont Bridge, understanding that the Belmont Bridge is going to be construction is going to start on it again, but reestablishing that bike lane separation until that happens, things like that. Talked about developing a list of prioritized projects, and maybe the Mobility Alliance, we could sort of maintain that shared, maybe it's a Google Doc or something where we sort of list what kinds of projects are and who, are they demonstration projects? Are they sort of educational projects? Are they more permanent, semi-permanent? So anyone else from my group want to chime in? I sort of tried to summarize the broad swath of things we discussed. Our worksheet's a little chaotic, but we'll get there.
Thanks, Jason. Okay, group 3, you're up.
Yeah, so we didn't have anybody else in group 3. I was there alone in the beginning. I just think I wanted to throw this in here that that the activity I proposed could be part of Bike Month. I was not in the Bike Month group, so I don't want to say it should be, but it could be. And I'm happy to join activities there, and we'll connect with them as well. And
Thanks.
then I was later with Jay, so Jay will talk about what we talked about there.
Great. Thank you. And group 4. Who wants to hop in there? All right, Jill, I see your hand. Thank you.
Thank you. So there is, I think we did a great job because people went through and introduced themselves, and then we started talking about the different problems that we identified in our own lives or work. And mostly what we found was that there's low diversity in organizations that are involved in any kind of outdoor spaces or activities. There's huge interest in developing new infrastructure and new trails, but the leadership and other levels of organizations aren't as diversified or as equitable as they should be, and they don't represent the people that will be using this infrastructure. We need more pedestrian connectivity, especially along the routes that children use. And we need to develop mentors of color for children so that they can be role models. And we need to find ways to create outdoor spaces that are inclusive for all members of the community, and that there's a challenge in reaching the entire community to ensure future outdoor spaces and trails reflect the desires of all. So we actually did start talking about things that we're doing to start to address these issues. I don't know if we have time or if the next group should go.
Oh, thank you. We'll have it in your notes, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So that was a great way to wet the whistle. You all can always go back to the notes. They're available to everyone, and you'll be able to see what other groups came up with as well. So thank you, Jill. How about group 5? Who's ready to
Group
hop
5, we're trying to build more people into our coalition. So we wanted to get out of our own comfort zone. We thought about putting tables out and stuff along trails, and then somebody had a really good idea. Is like, we really need to be at grocery stores and places where the usual suspects aren't going to be found. So we want to get out there and get more people to realize that, you know, we're all in this together, so that more people will go to public meetings and say, I represent a constituency of 500 people or whatever we can grow this number to. And when we do advocate, we advocate that the things that we're doing with bike ped trail infrastructure is complementary to affordable housing, equity, climate things, and not competing with. When you go to a board and say, we want some money for trails, it's part of an affordable living package that goes with housing, transportation, healthcare, and stuff like that. I think the big takeaway was to put tables out, and put signs out and things, and try to capture those people who aren't the usual suspects, because that was kind of what we wanted to get at. So we got a lot of stuff in our notes as well. So we'll go on to the next group. Anybody else in our group? Did I summarize that well?
I just wanted to add that we talked about creating a Trails Alliance group that represents multiple groups around the county and city, not just biking and pedestrians, but, you know, folks in underserved areas and transportation groups, and possibly having that you're working with Piedmont Environmental Council to help advertise and push that forward.
Thank you, group 5. Group number 6. Catch us up.
Hi, we decided we needed to look at the old UVA map. They have a map already. We want to get the description, the standard description of routes, challenging or not challenging, or keep it simple. We'll see. We think we need to connect with Bike Month. We're interested in making some point-to-point, destination-to-destination suggestions, and we are going to survey the shopping centers and destinations for bike racks to see, once people get there and their leisurely ride, is there a place to leave their bike? So we would like to connect with Bike Month and also safer schools, safer streets for schools, or I'm not sure what that group is called. So we have a lot of notes in group 6, so please take a look.
Great. Thank you, Jean. And group 7. Group 7, do we have anybody from group 7 that wants to speak up?
Well, I convened it, I guess, and I had Dan and Tim from the county, and we're trying to establish more regional greenways. So they're going to be looking at easements and deeds, I think, and see how we can connect, because we all live, well, Dan and I live north of the city, so we're trying to get connections, off-road connections to the city. So we don't have many notes yet, but hopefully we'll put some in. All right, thanks.
Awesome, thank you. And group number 8, who's your representative? Okay, Kyle.
So we talked about just to let everybody know, group 8 is the mobile bike repair events that go from neighborhoods. We kind of talked about 2 sides of it, basically. The first side being kind of the nuts and bolts about what needs to happen to kind of get it up and running, and that's build out a trailer, fill it full of tools and parts, and get volunteers and show up in a neighborhood and actually do the work. We've identified that as like the easy thing to do because that's kind of the tangible goods and things, and it's kind of easy. We have our systems of drumming up support for people in the field actually doing the work as volunteers. But the other side is kind of the planning and outreach and equity side of it, which is the side that really kind of is important and needs support, and that's going to be the real work there, is making sure that we are doing things as equitable as possible and reaching the people who want this, who need this, and then but also having the participation, because if we do all this work to build out a trailer and have all the parts and show up somewhere and nobody shows up, then there's nothing. It's not an event. It's not anything. So we basically talked about the need for more meetings afterwards. We plan to meet after that and kind of find channels for outreach and equity partners and you know, just kind of community partners, and see how far we can reach out to everybody before we start planning anything. Last thing was timeline. We think it's a reasonable timeline to get this implemented at the beginning of the next school year. So that's the goal.
Great. Thank you so much, Kyle. Before, I know people have to jump off, we want to do a group picture. So if you can hang out for about 30 seconds, we'll do the group picture and then we'll finish up with the last two groups. Is that cool, Peter? Who's got the camera? Who's doing the thing?
Yeah, hey, this is Marco. I can do it. So we have, on my screen at least, there are two groups. So you're gonna need to bear with me. So go ahead and turn your camera on if at all possible, if you don't have it on already. I think actually everyone does right now. So what we'll do is I'm gonna have to take two screenshots. So ask everyone to sort of smile and keep your smile for probably like 5 seconds. I know that's very hard to do, but I'll switch over to the other screen and take another photo. So, okay. Get myself set up here. And go ahead and get your smiles ready. All right, here we go. Here's one. Oh, hold on. I got a chat here. Hold on. Change my view. Okay. All right, here's the first one. And ready yourselves? Here we go. And then we'll do one more for the other group. Hold your smiles. Yay, thank you.
Thanks, Marco. That was about as awkward as my Christmas pictures growing up. Thank you. It was fun too. All right, so group 9.
There was just two of us in the group, but it sounds like from the things that were reported back from some of the other groups, we're kind of on the same page, which is that it's really important as a whole to come together in advocacy so that there's a known presence. I know before COVID hit, we were trying to participate in the Dogwood Parade. A bunch of cyclists. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. But I think the knowledge of us, not just to local government officials, but as a community of a whole, is important. I am in touch with Brentley Tyndall, who is out of Richmond, and he worked recently with the legislation there as far as the Virginia Cycle Safety Act. But also was instrumental with working with the City of Richmond's Vision Zero plan. So there was a thought of reaching out to the stakeholders in Richmond, since it's relatively close, to be able to find out the things that they did to get a buy-in by officials down there and be able to replicate that in our region.
There's also a great stakeholder group up in Northern Virginia you may want to connect to.
Right. And Jennifer, you can add that to the notes. Like if you go to Group 9's notes, you could possibly add whatever information I have for them. So thank you for that. And Group 10, do we have a Group 10? I can't remember
Yes,
if we got.
it was me and one other person. Let me pull up my notes so I can talk more comprehensively. It was Robert Walters and myself. And one of the problems we identified with trail maintenance or park maintenance is that there are communication gaps in volunteer projects that are available and the criteria that are needed for volunteer participation. There are a lot of groups in Charlottesville that do trail maintenance. So the Virginia Master Naturalist and the Ravenna Trails Foundation. But there isn't, to our knowledge, one specific community calendar where those projects are posted. There is a United Way volunteer site where organizations can post their project needs, but there's also a community calendar for Charlottesville that's for community events. But there seems to be a need for better cohesion between organizations that need trail maintenance, finding those people with expert skills, and then being able to disseminate that information. So I think one of the things that we can do is to, find out if there is a better source for posting that information, or possibly create that networking between the organizations that need trail maintenance and post our own calendar, and probably make steps in the next few months to reach out to those other organizations, see how they facilitate trail volunteer projects, and see if we can get something together that would help facilitate better coordination and share skills across our sites.
Great. Thank you, Julie. And I think, Peter, did we collapse Group 11?
That's correct.
And that'll take us right into lunch, a little intergalactic sound there. So we're going to reconvene at 1 o'clock. For those of you who won't be able to join us for the afternoon, we are so grateful that you are here with us today. Thank you for your ideas and your energy. And continue to stay in touch. We will have these documents available. And for those of you who are coming back, we'll see you on the other side of 1 o'clock. We're going to do this again with new groups. So I'm excited. Peter, do you have anything you want to say as we roll out to lunch?
No, that's it. Thanks everybody for joining us this morning. We could continue conversations from the morning and the afternoon, maybe have some new ideas, but in the meantime, go forth and be refreshed. Thank you.
Awesome. See you at 1 o'clock.
And by the way, I'm still going to hang on here for a little while. If you have questions that you wanted to go into depth with, just DM me and we'll talk about it over lunch.
Welcome back. Welcome back. We have some new ways of identifying ourselves this afternoon. I'm just dropping it in the chat in case it didn't come up for you earlier. Let's see if it'll work for me this time. There we go. So now the word that you're going to add to your name, if you were here this morning, you had one word. This afternoon, we have a different prompt. And welcome if you weren't here for the first meeting, we welcome you for the second half. We'll get everybody caught up on what that is in just a second. But in the meantime, go ahead and rename yourself by adding a word to identify what you're hoping for from the afternoon session. So you can add that to your name. Great. Great, we've got people still coming in. And I'll just reintroduce myself. Good afternoon, I'm Selena Cozart. I am serving as your moderator for this, or facilitator, whatever word you like, for this afternoon session of the Charlottesville-Albemarle Active Mobility Summit. So I just want to thank you for taking time to come and be part of this summit. I know several of you are already quite active in this space, and thank you for taking time out of your day to come and collaborate with other people who are excited about the activities that you all are coming up with. So just for those who just need a refresh real quick, we are doing a breakout session for the afternoon where you all have either already come up with ideas or you're going to propose ideas that people will then have the opportunity to participate in those conversations. And as a reminder, what we're using is a version of open space technology. And basically the rules are, they're very simple rules, which one is that whoever comes are the right people. And so what we mean by that is, just to trust that the conversation that needs to happen will happen. That doesn't mean that everybody that could be here and should be here are here. Sometimes we don't get the word out or people can't make it, and we don't want to disregard those folks, but at the same time, we are here. And so we are the people of the moment, always mindful that other voices need to be at the table. And also being creative about how we can get that to happen. Also, the second part is whatever happens is the only thing that could have happened. There may be parallel universes, but we're not in that one right now. So we'll just be in the one we're in, which means that whatever happens is the only thing that could happen. So let's run with it. Whenever it starts, it's the right time is the next principle. And that just means that, you're working toward what you're trying to get done. And when you start doing it, that's the right time. So not spending any energy fretting about that, but just going ahead and moving into action. And when it's over, it's over. We're all time bound in this universe. And so we just honor that. And the last is the law of mobility, or the law of 2 feet, meaning that if you are in a group and for whatever reason, you may have multiple interests going on at the same time, or you may just decide that there's another topic that you're interested in, by all means, use the law of 2 feet. They're virtual 2 feet. You'll just come out of that room back into the hallway. And those of us who are in the hallway monitoring, we will help you get into whichever other conversation you're interested in. So those are kind of the ground rules to get us started. And if anybody has any questions about that, we can entertain those now. But the last thing I want to say about these principles is that where it says, and yes, there are bumblebees and butterflies. And that just implies what kind of participant you might be for this session, where bumblebees are pollinators and they go from idea to idea. They may find themselves in more than one room during this time, and that is totally fine. That's not a slight on any topic or any presentation. It may just be the interest of the person, and you are responsible for your own experience here. So if there's something else you want to listen to or participate in, by all means, use your ability to do that, and we will help facilitate that through the Zoom world. And also the butterflies. The butterflies, sometimes can look delicate because they're not necessarily leading the meeting, but they may be aggregating information to take elsewhere. Whatever, and all it does is imply that whatever role you're playing in that meeting, as long as you're actively doing that and intentionally doing that, then it is welcome. So just make sure that that's where we are today. So if anybody has any questions, we can ask them now. Otherwise, we're going to move into pitches. I love this. Peter said in the chat, and a butterfly can start a hurricane just by the flapping of the wings. So don't sleep on the power of the butterfly. All righty. So what we're going to do now is we're going to open up the floor for any new ideas for breakout rooms. And Peter, if you could take the slide down, that would be great. And what we'll do is we'll have a raising of hands. So if you are not familiar with this feature, if you go under the participants tab, click on that, you should have the option of raising your hand under the participants tab. If you have an idea, this can be an idea that you've been sitting on or something that just came to you over lunch. It doesn't have to be well thought out. It just needs to be passionate and interesting to you. And then you offer that to the group. So are there any new ideas? If you don't have the ability to raise your hand virtually, you can just drop in the chat that you want to propose something. Do we need to do a stretch? I'm not seeing anybody raise their hand.
Another option is we could bring back the original slate and vote in or vote out original items. And if anything is missing from the conversation that needs to be pulled in, people may be empowered to do that.
Awesome, thank you. I see Todd's hand. So we're gonna hear from Todd and then we're gonna see if there are any topics from the previous session that we want to refresh and bring into the second session. Go ahead, Todd.
And I'm doing the latter of your two things there. So I'm just going to put out there, if folks want to re-engage in equity discussion, and a shout out to Nata from our group who during the lunch break it made the comment, and I don't want to quote directly, but said, you know, all groups should be considering equity and all of the things that they're discussing. And I think that's a really excellent point. So in any case, if there's interest, I would be happy to, you know, convene with anybody who wants to do that. So thanks.
Awesome, thank you, Todd. So Todd's group will continue the conversation about equity. That's great. Allie, I see your hand up.
Yeah, Peter Krebs had asked if I would lead a discussion on greenways with specifically either the 3 Notch Trail that we're proposing from Charlottesville West to the Blue Ridge Tunnel and Shenandoah National Park and Blue Ridge Parkway, and also give people an update on kind of an extension of the Virginia Capitol Trail from from Richmond over to Charlottesville. So kind of an Eastern Greenway. So if somebody wanted to get updates on that and offer to share some ideas, I'd be happy to lead a group on that.
Great, thank you, Allie. All right, any other, let's see, Amanda, thank you.
Yeah, I was just going to offer that we'll do a bike month, continue on with the bike month topic again this afternoon if anyone wants to join.
Great, thank you, Amanda. And so this is a time to renominate a session from before, or if you have a new idea, by all means, bring that up as well. Lauren, I see your hand.
I was hoping to be in the bike repair clinics conversation this morning, so I'd love to continue that one on this afternoon too.
Great, that's good to hear. Great. All right. Anybody else want to continue a conversation or to introduce a new idea? Max, I see your hand.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, I don't know if Jay is here, but if Jay is here, maybe we can continue the Vision Zero discussion because we didn't get to specific next steps, etc. I mean, we talked about getting in touch with the people in Richmond, but and also if other people want to join that group. I don't know. Jay, are you here?
Jay's here.
Okay.
Jay is here, and let's put that on the slate and use the law of feet to decide if it continues or not.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks, Max. Anybody else want to offer a topic? Jane, okay, I see your hand. Thank you.
Yeah, I just, so I'm in a dilemma because I would love to continue the diversity and equity discussion, but I also want to be in part of the East Greenway. So the question is, we had some really great dialogue in our equity discussion, and I see really big opportunities for partnerships amongst many of our groups. So I hope we can keep these going in a different format or whatever, and not knowing what the outcome will this be. So if I switch to another group, I want back in that group for future discussion.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great idea. And one of the things that we've been doing is having people include their information in the group that they're in so that we can keep people connected afterwards. So it'll be in the notes and in the follow-up email. I'm guessing that second part, but it will definitely be in the notes.
And not only that, but at the end, we're going to do a full debrief and next steps. And if there needs to be, well, certainly there needs to be, but if there's need, desire, and energy to revisit these conversations more than once a year, bring it up. And, you know, that's what this is about.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, anybody else want to pitch a topic?
Selena, I'm going to throw back on screen the morning slate, and that way folks can let us know if there are topics that they're interested in continuing with. And by the way, our plan is to keep the same numbering scheme. So you won't have to, if you want to go back to the same room, you still can.
Okay, Julie, I see your hand.
Yeah, I was wondering if anyone wanted to continue the conversation about local trail advocacy and networking. Number 5.
Well, if you want to, then somebody does, and then we'll find.
Yeah, I guess what I'm wondering is, you know, if there's a lack of participation in what's gone before, is it a new conversation, and how to kind of keep the ball rolling on what was already discussed this morning. I'd rather join in on a conversation that's going to be continuing from what was going on this morning, but that I guess is a wait and see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you'll have access to the notes from the morning session so that it doesn't have to be a completely new conversation, but it could be a new conversation. So you're not limited either way. So the people who come will decide that. All righty. Any other suggestions or items for clarity? All right. Okay, so Peter, if you could drop the link into the chat that people can use to select the group that they want to be in, that we're going to use the same ideas that we used for the first session, which is that you will go to the sheet, the Google Sheet, and select the group that you want for the afternoon. And then you will also change your name to put the number of that group at the front of your name so that we know where to move you quickly. Okay, so just take a couple minutes to identify where you want to be.
Can you guys update the on-screen list to include the Greenway and the 3 Notch Trail and Capitol Trail extension? Or is that just going to fill in number 3?
Peter, do you have information about that?
Yeah, so I've updated the spreadsheet. Now I'm going to update the slide about it.
Okay, so Peter just put in the chat the link to the spreadsheet. So you can head over there and start putting yourself in the groups that you're interested in. And Peter will be updating that slide as well.
Okay, so let's see, bike month, equity, 3 notched, trail advocacy, low stress. Okay. Let me know if I have this list right. And now I have to, we're gonna be able to use the same worksheets as we had before. Just ignore that it says morning on it. And I'm adding a second group 3 sheet for 3 notched. Let me know if anyone thinks that that is anything but a most amazing plan ever. I don't want people going in the breakout rooms until the worksheets are correct. Okay, so the link for that's going to be the same, but I'm going to repost it.
Great.
I'll repost it now, and then also when people are actually in the groups, I'll post it again.
Perfect, perfect. Now I see Nada has her hand up. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right.
Yes, I just wanted to make a comment that I hope folks in their groups, remember that there's a lot of voices missing and representation missing within our groups, and like to be mindful and careful with that. And remembering that like if we're doing outdoor equity for one, it doesn't mean that equity shouldn't like be thought about for all of our groups. I just wanted to make that comment.
Thank you. Thank you. And that's powerful indeed. I think that's part of the popularity of the outdoor equity group is that people are trying to figure out how to do both. And so you can carry that notion in with you wherever you are. So thank you for reiterating that, Nada. Okay.
Okay, so
So
now
I have a question. If I'm gonna, Peter, and if I'm gonna work on this 3 Notch Trail group, could I do screen sharing? Can you allow me to share screen so I can show a couple maps?
You're muted, Peter.
Yeah, I'm not sure how it works in the breakout room environment. We'll have to see.
We'll certainly play with it and see what happens. Okay, so are we ready?
We'll make it work.
Thank
Allie, we got it.
We've got some smart people in the room. I'm grateful. So, okay, Peter, are we ready to start launching the breakout rooms?
So I forgot, we were having so much fun in the lobby, I forgot that we told them we'd be closing the breakout rooms. So I just did that. People are funneling back now. Thanks everybody for being a part of this highly experimental way of running a summit. We had no idea what to expect. Other than like smart people who are willing to improvise, and thank you for that level of patience. Looks like, is everybody back now? Seems like it.
It looks like it, yeah.
Yeah, okay, great.
We may have had a couple people who had to scoot early, but for those of you who were here for the first session, we're going to follow the same format, giving a little bit more time for report outs. And that format is that we're going to go in the order of the number of the group. And so hopefully you had somebody note taking, and perhaps you designated someone as a speaker, or you're about to designate yourself as such. But in any case, we're going to go through each group, and you can give us a summary of the highlights. What excited you about the topic, anything like that, and we'll give you about 2 minutes per group. And so group 1, who's our representative to get us started?
I think technically group 1 was me and nobody joined me, so I joined group 4.
Okay, well, thank you for that clarity, and Todd's celebrating. Not that your group didn't go, but that you came to his group, I'm sure. So group number 2, what's your story? Do we have a rep from group 2? I don't see anybody with a 2 by their name, so maybe group 2 dissolved too. Peter, do you have any information about group 2?
Yeah, there's no group 2 in the afternoon. We'll have a group 3, group 4, group 8, and group 9.
Okay, that's helpful. All right, so group 3.
We had a great discussion in group 3 talking about greenways from Richmond to Charlottesville and Charlottesville on westward to the Blue Ridge Tunnel beyond. We talked about trying to, I mentioned the chicken and the egg of trying to advertise this, but not advertise it so much that landowners are afraid that we're going to put a trail in their yard and then start immediately fighting back and saying not in my backyard. Talked about the struggles of that a little bit. Put out a request for some volunteers to help with some smaller projects on potential mapping and let's see, website design, which we got some volunteers on that. We talked about using Strava heat maps and some streetlight data to potentially map routes in the meantime, since this may not be an immediate project, but can we do some kind of safe streets alignment designation or add some signs to get from point A to point B that's not a greenway, but at least uses some back roads and so forth. And we talked about the $10 million through the Virginia legislature that's put together for trails and how we can potentially be a part of that. So if I missed something, somebody please add in. But thanks everybody for the discussion.
Thank you, thank you.
There's notes. I just want to add to Allie's thing. There's notes there from our discussion, and tried to capture as much of it as possible. It was, for me, it was a really good information session. I learned a lot. And it was good folks in the room from the county, from Monticello, from DCR, local. Yeah, it was a good group of folks. Chris.
Awesome, thank you, Jason. And with you naming, I had to turn my camera off because my internet gets unstable in the afternoon for some reason. But Jason brought up a good point of just how many different collaborators we have here in this space. So I really hope that you take advantage of the networking opportunity to be able to follow up with people after this session to continue the work and share ideas. So group number 4.
I guess I should be the person to go. So basically, I'd say that we had an incredible bonding session. Everybody was really active in this conversation. And we do have a follow-up plan to meet within the next 90 days. We're going to be doodling times and dates. And in the meantime, we came up with a list of organizations, both local and throughout the country, that do work getting underrepresented communities into outdoor spaces or outdoor activities, so that we could look at and see what we can, pick and choose that's working for them that could work for us as well. So we've got our homework and we've got a potential due date. So. Todd, if I missed anything, please jump in.
Thank you, Jill. You got a thumbs up from Todd, so good job. All right, so group number 8. Would you like to bring us into your world and what you all talked about?
Yeah, I guess I'll be the spokesperson again. So it was really awesome to have a few new people in the conversation for the bike repair. We had Lauren from Community Bikes, who is the other partner on that. So we talked a lot about how the event series would be kind of recognized and identified, and kind of identified the need for it to be not so like nebulous, like this thing that just kind of shows up in neighborhoods every once in a while, but have it actually be kind of under somebody's umbrella. And decided that Community Bikes, with the work that they do and with their name, might be the best headliner for that event. But Abby also joined our group, and I'm going to out her as the experienced one, because it turns out that she's done this before. So she was extremely informative with details and nuts and bolts, and also coming up with some of those unintended consequences that we were kind of looking for, kind of what to expect and all that. So that was super, super helpful, and we had a lot of our time was kind of focused on that. And beyond that, we were just talking about how to do that real work of outreach, to those people who are in communities that would want or need this, and some of that outreach, we had some insight to what Abby shared with pre-registration or don't do pre-registration, and what to expect and what not to expect with that kind of stuff. And we just talked about community partners, who we could partner with and what they could bring to the table as far as outreach and things like that. So a lot of the conversation was focused on trying to reach the people and actually starting that conversation with people, rather than what's it gonna cost and who's gonna pay the bill and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like we made some really good progress.
Great, thank you, Kyle. Anybody else want to say anything from group 8? I think you covered it maybe, but if anybody else wants to pop in. Okay, how about group 9?
Jay, did you want to talk, or should I? Or do you want to do it together? I think that's us.
Yeah. Max, why don't you take the lead this time? Because
Okay.
I think you had some good ideas.
Okay. Well, then feel free to just add and So Peter Olms was also in our group at some point, and also Jean Gratz, I think. Is that Jean Gratz or Gratz? So we had total of 4 at different times. So it was a little bit more active. And first step was we looked a bit more at what other cities of comparable size, both in geographical size, but also population size, ventured into Vision Zero politically, and that was very refreshing. So we looked not just to Richmond, because that's a different level in a way. So we looked more to other places and narrowed down a little bit onto Alexandria, and then looked at their Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Commission, and also who was in charge of their Safe Streets program, and who was working on their Vision Zero strategy. And we also found some people we actually had ties to, and made notes of these in our in the document, and then said, okay, this would be a first step, would be contacting them and then seeing if we can do a joint meeting, such as on Zoom with them, and then staff here from the city and the county, especially transport planners, to get them to hear about it and to basically nudge them into this new concept, or it's not that new. But we also talked about another strategy that was about getting people, both the planners and city officials, to bike the streets. We don't know quite yet how to do this in practical terms, but the idea was to actually have them experience the issues firsthand, and that can be very very meaningful. And then a longer term, we look towards November with a Remembrance Day for crash victims, to have a public visibility event. Jay pointed out that in New York, they had done very visual events with body bags or die-ins, and that this would be very significant. We also looked at crash maps for the county and the city, looking at the hotspots, seeing that US 29 is really like the place for crashes. And so it's not just visually, but it's actually the data is really there. And so that we can also direct attention to these zones, and including what you see behind Jay, the white bicycles. So making this also more clearly visible to the general population, including, of course, car drivers. Jay, if you want to add to that.
I think going forward, what we're going to do is, and we in the document have just a whole bunch of names now of people that we can reach out to. And I was tickled to hear that Max personally knows one of the authors of this new book that was released, Cycling for Sustainable Cities. And you know, I mean, I haven't purchased the book yet, but I've been in touch with MIT Press, and it has really good implementation as far as improvements that can be made in infrastructure, and it can also be extended to you know, pedestrian infrastructure as well. It's not just focused on cycling, but we look at this as kind of a multi-pronged approach. You know, we get the academics, the engineers, the politicians, the planners, work on networking them together, putting together some presentations. But at the same time, since this is not something that's going to happen instantaneously, looking towards some events that we can do to bring people's attention to the fact that this area needs better infrastructure. And, you know, fortunately, we don't see the level of fatalities that they do in other areas. But unfortunately, you know, as looking at the traffic map on 29, you know, when the city grows, the county grows, there are going to be more people that die on our roads. And this is the time to make the steps in the right direction to see that, you know, we don't go down that path, but make this an environmentally friendly community and one that people can use multimodal transportation and feel safe at doing it. So I think we've got some good steps forward, and a lot of good contacts to take it from here.
Thank you for sharing that, Jay. And just so you know, we are looking at having another book club with Ralph Euler. I think that's how you say his name, the author or the editor of Cycling for Sustainable Cities. So
cool.
Stay tuned for that.
Awesome. So does anybody have any comments or questions across groups that you'd like to bring up now? As we're coming toward the end, but I want to invite dialogue now if you have any comments or questions across groups.
So is there I know we came out of some of the meetings that I was breakouts that I was in. Is there going to be or plans around or future ideas of a active mobility mailing list and, you know, marketing logo and branding and all of that, so that we can, you know, pitch it as a thing and get people signed up for it, et cetera? I know, Peter, you've been driving it. I just don't know where we are in that process.
Yeah, so that would be one of those, wouldn't it be a good idea topics? Because the Mobility Alliance doesn't have it's not a nonprofit or organization of its own, but let's raise that as a business item at the next Alliance meeting. My own personal thought, and based on like what I think INPC could deliver, is the next step would be to work with a volunteer, and I have a volunteer, to make a logo text treatment thing that we could at least use as like something that gets attached to flyers and mailers and stuff like that, and go from there. But let's put that on the agenda. And I'm glad you also raised that, because our next step is for you guys to go work separately, and the next Advocates Active Mobility Alliance meeting will be like in April, and report backs in there, and also business items such as the one you raised.
That's great. Anybody else want to ask a question or make a comment as we draw to a close?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to extend my thanks and appreciation for all the people that worked to put this together. I know that for me personally, this is a conversation that I've been hoping to have for probably about 18 months now. So I'm glad that I found a home to have it, and I look forward to working with y'all in the future.
Yeah, concur.
I think our voice together is much better to achieve even what may be some diverse interests in this group. And, you know, as part of that, breaking this up into smaller pieces, following up on it, and staying in touch with one another will, you know, take us much closer to achieving some of the goals that we've put forth. You know, I know in my particular case, you know, losing one daughter, and then 2.5 weeks later, my other daughter was hit in Preston Avenue. Rachel's been in 3 vehicle-related crashes in the last 3 years. You know, this is too much. And, you know, in bigger areas, it seems that bad infrastructure, unsafe streets is just kind of the cost of living. But I don't think that that's what any of us want for this area. we want sustainability, we want safety. And it's really great to see this group come together, you know, and aim towards some of those goals.
I'd just like to say this week I've participated in 3 different groups like this, one in Richmond for the Fall Line and one in Northern Virginia for the Potomac Heritage Trail, and that you have a larger network, that you know, collective impact is what I'm trying to say here, and using the Virginia Trails Alliance to strengthen everybody's advocacy is just something you should keep in mind.
Thank you, Jennifer. Going once, going twice. And thank you all. I'm gonna hand the mic back to Peter for closing remarks. And again, thank you all for your attention, your passion, your collaboration, your presence here today. Peter?
Thank you. And just, you know, mainly thank you all for coming here and being out there every day doing this work. The work is the sum of each of our efforts, and you guys are super inspirational. Like every single little face on this book of postage stamps is like worth spending a day or more with talking about this stuff. And we each only got a small dose of each other, but I hope it was helpful. And this is definitely not the end of the discussion. So this was sort of a proof of concept, you know, beta version of having a summit. We've talked about doing it for a long time, and built into even getting started with doing this summit is the idea that it would be like an annual thing with periodic check-ins. So this is definitely not the end of anything. This is the start of something. Another one of our organizing principles, and maybe I should have said this stuff at the beginning, is that it is indeed, you know, us and you doing the work. So in between those check-ins, be like getting together with your smaller groups, start your own small revolutions, you know, whatever we want to call it, and do that good work. Like I said, I'll send out a doodle poll in the follow-up email that'll help us choose a date for the next Mobility Alliance meeting, probably April, probably end of the day on a weekday, something like that. But you'll have some options to choose. Also, I think it's so crucial to, again, and sorry I keep talking about it, but acknowledge the power that the Charlottesville Area Community Foundation unleashed, first with the Strengthening Systems Grant, and now this Enriching Communities Grant, which is paid for this summit. If they hadn't stepped up, even though, you know, it's just one thing, we probably wouldn't have done this summit. So thank you to them. And also thank you to the organizing committee. They put a lot of work in, but I think even more important is the like emotional and mental push that they gave this thing. These are all people who have been working hard, and again, without them having stepped up, this literally wouldn't have happened. So I just want to name them. I'm sorry if they're shy or whatever, but I think they can handle it. You know, first of all, Selena, who joined us and lifted us up with professionalism, which is always a good thing, and also a lot of knowledge. Jason Espy, Music Man, and many other things. Michael Enlow will say happy trails. He actually moved to DC, and but he stuck with it to get this thing done. He wasn't going to let it fall. By the way, if you guys know any behind the scenes volunteers that can keep us running, let me know. I'll also be looking to. There's Amanda Ponce, who pointed us to the Shenandoah and Harrisonburg bicycle summit, which inspired this and is a force every day. So thank you for that. And Kyle Rodland, who is out there fighting the good fight every day, not only turning trailers of bikes, trailers of metal into bikes plus beers, but also, you know, giving good input and just tireless, and tons of other people. But thank you all very much. You know, go forth and do well. Yeah, I'm so honored to be with you guys and to call you all peers. It's so great. So last logistic thing is, so I'm going to leave the meeting running for another half hour. So if people want to hang out and chat and do follow up and ask longer questions, that's great. But for those of you that need to be out by 3 o'clock, thank you for joining us.
Thank you all.
Thanks for coming.
Stop the recording, Peter.